That reminds me of a story that a friend told me about this like gross apartment that they used to go to. That there was like a shit corner in the apartment. That there was like a black.
What do you mean there was a shit corner?
There was literally a corner of the apartment that like the carpet was black from how like people pissing on it and shitting on it. And like throwing up, it was like the spot where like if you partied and you had to like fucking throw up, it's like just go throw up on the fucking black spot
on the poop corner.
in the corner.
Did they not have a toilet?
I have no idea, man.
No,
I don't know.
they were just hella into composting. It's good.
Oh God! Don't even.
Yeah, one of them had like I don't know, a fucking. They were germaphobes, and it was like immersion therapy.
Oof. That's one way to get immersed. That's dude,
yeah,
really deep cover right there, man.
Fucking, that's probably just turned into some fucking PTSD real fucking quick. Some fucking
poop trauma.
Do you want to talk about the dark spot?
Woo! Yeah.
Too many fucking episodes for me not to be super paranoid.
Damn, like how many for real? Like a handful?
Probably like 3 at this point.
Shit.
3 or 4.
We've lost 3. I think one was with a guest.
Oh man, I was just
dude.
about to say, like, what do you just call a guest? Just like, yeah, so the entire
Dude, it wasn't
thing
just-
we just did.
It was even worse because we had recorded, like, we were talking about Korn's self-titled record. That was what the episode was on.
Hater.
And we talked for like an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, which is like way too long. But at the very end, our buddy realized that he didn't press record on his end.
Yeah.
So we just had a great conversation about Korn. That's all that was.
I feel like it's a classic podcast. Like, you have to have at least a couple episodes where like one person just doesn't record anything, you know?
Yeah, we lost the fucking Misfits episode. And another one where like my mic was muted for the first like 30 minutes. So we had to redo the first 30 minutes of an episode and like pretend that all this was like fresh. And I'm just like rehashing. I'm like trying to remember everything that we talked about.
You start
it
saying
was so
some shit that's
unnatural.
like dead opposite. It's like, no, wait,
This isn't
Yeah.
what we rehearsed.
Start it again.
take 2.
Yeah.
So have y'all been playing shows in Austin again?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, we've been a little bit more active as of late, which has been really nice. This past year, so Nico and I also play in this band, Anders Drerup Band, and it's like a singer-songwriter sort of stuff, and this past year was really busy for us. But this next year, it's looking like we're planning on recording some tracks and putting some shit out and actually doing the damn thing, so.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
It's
How's that
exciting,
been?
man.
Yeah, how's that been, like, playing shows? Is it weird, or is everyone just so fucking psyched to be out again?
It seems to me like the grand majority of people are kind of just over, or just not, you know, kind of don't ask, don't tell, more or less. Like, I guess don't mask, don't tell sort of shit.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
You know?
Oh,
And I'm out. Peace. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Leave on a
No,
high note.
I went to 3 shows in the pandemic. 2 were my own. One, I went to this butt show and they were like, yeah, everyone's gonna have to show their vaccine card, come in with a mask. And I went there, no one was checking, no one was masked.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was like we all just kind of gave up as soon as we got there in person.
If anything, that just kind of wards away the people who are like, I gotta have my vax. Well then, like that's just like an initial like, all right, well, and then people who show up are kind of like, all right, well, how chill is it? And then it's like, it's chill. Fucking come in, drink.
Yeah, I don't see the Lost Well. I don't see the Lost Well doing well if they need vaccine cards.
Yeah.
No one's gonna go.
Right.
If anything, they'll hand out like just straight the virus, like in a vial. Like they'll just give you the virus. Like,
Yeah. We made our own patented like Tex-Mex vaccine.
oh, you're gonna pull up in here and watch this show? You better be sick, motherfucker.
I don't know how we haven't gotten like Wendy's giving out like custom vaccines and stuff.
Right?
Legit.
Yeah, like name a
Seriously.
sauce after it, like
Yeah,
Johnson
yeah. And you get
Johnson
a bucket
fucking
of chicken
dipping
nuggets.
sauce. Yeah, goes good with their new fries, man. It's fucking
The
sick.
little COVID Szechuan sauce.
Yup.
Yep.
See, this is gonna be part
Yeah.
of the fucking weed cafe.
I
Just
knew
keep
you were
these
a-
ideas rolling, dude.
Yeah.
Like, Write it
Dude, I'm
down.
telling
Write
you.
it down.
I knew you were
Yeah.
a marketer. You got it in you.
The wheels are always turning, man. They're always turning.
Always got ideas.
I had a buddy in town last night who I literally hadn't seen in 20. I haven't talked to him or seen him in 20 fucking years, and I met up with him last night here in San Diego because his band was playing a show, and I didn't feel comfortable going to the show, but I was just like, I'll get some beers with you before. Like I'm like fully vaxxed and waxed, and I'm still like kind of not into going to shows yet. I just can't imagine like the way, like with my anxiety, my health anxiety, like even playing a show I think would make me really uncomfortable.
I mean, people are still definitely getting like up close and personal. You know, it's like it's. I mean, a concert's being treated as a concert nowadays. Like people are getting close, being in groups, it's not like the separate tables and anything like that. It just, I mean, at least out here in Texas, it really just kind of feels like people are kind of hoping that like it just goes away.
Yeah, it just kind of hops out of the scene, you know.
Just like, you know what?
I mean,
I'm done. I'm done being COVID.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Now y'all are
Yeah.
chill.
Y'all can go to the show.
I mean, my thing too is like because I'm a singer and I fucking deep throat those mics when we play, and I just
Right.
know that I would get sick immediately.
Oh, I mean, granted, if you haven't gotten sick from deep throating some fucking punk rock mics already.
Yeah, your immune
Right.
system's probably
Yeah.
immaculate.
I was telling my girlfriend the other day about the smell of some of those mics.
Oh,
Right as I'm drinking my
God,
coffee,
man.
son. Oh.
Dude, I'm sorry. I got nauseous one time playing a show in Austin because I was like, I can't not sing and be fucking right up on this motherfucker. Like I'm just in it, and the smell was just ungodly. Oof. And I'm pretty sure I'm one of the first people that got COVID in Austin because we played Mohawk, and I was like 2 days later, I was fucking dead.
That smelly mic fucking got you.
Choking on mics,
Yep.
dude. It'll get
Yeah,
you.
dude. Fucking drooling while I'm like, it's not a good scene.
Fucking, I think I actually saw a meme of like the house mic or whatever, and it's this microphone that has all these food chunks and shit like all fucking stuck in it, and like, ugh.
I heard a story about a comedian that he would stick the mic up his ass at some point, like during a bit or something like that. That was one of his bits. And the other comedian that was like doing the show with him was just like, I'm not gonna like. Do you guys have separate mics? And he's like, oh, that guy brings his own mic to every show. And I'm just like, well, fucking yeah, you
okay.
Well, thank
yeah,
God.
you better.
I thought that story was gonna end a whole lot
Nope,
different.
we have no other microphones.
Yeah, we don't own any other microphones. You
The
also
other comedian's
have to be
actually
within
like-
2 feet of it at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's what happened to the mic that I was remembering the other day. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think that comedian played here last night.
Yeah, low key, fucking a Jesus Lizard played a secret set like right before y'all hit the stage, and fucking
You got some keister mic action.
Keister mic.
It's
That's a
alright,
good
man.
band
It's
name.
good for your skin, man. I swear.
You need the microbiomes, bro.
Yeah, dude. It's all about atoms and shit, man.
Fucking-
you know?
healing
Probiotics,
microbes.
man.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Anyway.
That's cool that music's coming back, though. That's exciting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think people, especially in Austin, you know, it's like people will go crazy without live music. You know, they'll riot over that. So it's kind of like, you know, everyone's just like, fuck it. If I get sick, I get sick. You know, I have to play. I have to listen. And, you know, a lot of us too. It's like how we make most of our money. So it's kind of just
Right.
like,
Right.
risk it for the biscuit, son. Like you gotta do it.
Fucking coffee on the floor, rock and roll. All right.
Willie spilled
Oh,
his coffee,
nice.
man.
Give me a
down.
moment.
Man,
We're off to a great start. Give me 2 seconds. Fucking.
this dude. Damn, I was a hella too. It
Dude,
was like-
I'm R.I.P. Dude.
Moderate-
I have to retire from coffee. After this,
How
dude.
how much of a cup was that?
Like,
It's
moderate.
like a fucking. It's like a Starbucks fucking like at least a vein. I think
It was like,
Yeah,
bro,
it's like-
I was like that much.
oh man.
Moderate to severe gallons, son.
Yeah. I quit. I'm
I-
done with this shit, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the point. You stop like worrying about the spillage, and you start like being like, oh man, that was so much coffee that could have gone in my stomach.
Yeah, you just start thinking about how sad you get, and then the
Yeah.
coffee just slowly seeps into our technology while you cry about it. And,
But now you have a great spot for anytime you guys just want to like spill coffee. You're like, all right, just do it over there.
yeah, oh, dude, it's 5 o'clock. You know what that means. Go dump your shit out, son, on the floor right there.
It's our ritual.
You
Yeah.
got to add to the stain.
Pour one
Dude,
out for the
I-
homies.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dark Spot, what's up, buddies? And welcome to another episode of Earbuds, the podcast where multiple friends talk about singular albums for many minutes. We are your hosts, Lucas. Oh man, I had something for this earlier. All beef patties with special sauce, Indrakovs, and
Nice.
Brett. Brett Michaels, Hanrahan. Brett the Hitman Hart Hanrahan.
Thank you very much.
And we are, some people call us the odd couple, some people call us the pod couple. We don't subscribe to either these days, but we do think that we're just the odd pod couple of pod oddcasts. And I think that just keeps it simple.
I think it's a nice, easy to remember, real fits.
I could see that on a mug easily. Yeah.
You should just have
see a
like
marketer.
the pod
Wheels are
odd,
turning.
oddly god, the cup, the god, the couple odds.
Got it, dude.
See how easy that was?
Yeah, y'all should it's like the Cat in the Hat, but like a podcast, It's like, it's
The
just
podcast in the hat cat.
cast in the hat.
We're the Dr. Seuss of podcasts,
Yeah.
basically, is what you're saying.
It's
That's
like
a
the
fucking
Russian
title,
nesting
bro.
dolls. Yeah, the Russian nesting dolls of podcasts.
And who are these mysterious voices?
Yeah,
Lucas?
you're hearing some new voices on the pod. We have some local Austin musicians, old musician friends from when I was living in Austin. We got Willie and Nico from the band Mug Dog joining us today. What's up, guys?
What's
up,
happening?
What's good, y'all?
Dude, so psyched to have you guys on, man.
Stoked to be here, man.
Thanks for having us, dude. We're always down to talk some music.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's break this shit down. What album did you guys pick for us to listen to, man?
We picked the second Royal Blood album. It's How Did We
Get So Dark?
How Did We Get So Dark?
Yeah.
It's a little bit
And
of a
you've
title.
obviously heard of it before.
Yeah. We picked this album. I don't know what the album
I
is.
haven't listened to it yet, but I heard it's chill.
I think it's like singer-songwriter.
Fucking
Yeah.
That's the vibe
So
I
it's-
get from the album cover.
Having watched videos of y'all playing, it seems obvious to me why y'all picked these guys as a kind of like distorted bass drum duo. But why did you pick this album?
Yeah.
I mean, really just, so that first Royal Blood album was something that I remember personally when I first heard it. It was about the time that I was also kind of thinking fuck guitar players. Could I just run my bass up through an octave through a guitar rig or whatever? And it was like, well, maybe that won't work. And then my buddy showed me Royal Blood's first album. It was like, oh, fuck, it works.
It definitely
It really fucking works. And
Yeah, man, these guys in Death from Above, they show you that it can fucking work, man.
For sure. And I hadn't even heard of Death from Above until relatively recently. But
Okay.
particularly with that first album, it was so kick-ass. And then when the second album came out and it, the anticipation for it and all this other stuff, and then you can tell that they stepped up their studio songwriting game for this second album.
Right,
There's a lot
for
more
sure.
layers. There's a lot more composition. It's still some pretty fucking kick-ass rock and roll for the grand majority of it, but the start of their evolution kind of starts at the second album, as opposed to with lots of bands where it's 3 or 4 albums in, then they start kind of getting into these different sort of tangents.
Yeah.
Royal Blood, just first record, hard rock album. Second record, experimental rock album. And then their most recent album is practically a synth
It's like
pop
a
album.
dance synth pop album.
Right.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
shit.
Typhoons. It's super
sick.
catchy, but it's all 4 on the floor disco vibe and shit with all these different electronic layers and stuff too. So
They kind of abandoned the title of rock band at that point.
it's still it hits in certain areas, but definitely not in the same ways that the previous did.
Right.
And this second album was really one that was just it still fucking kicks ass when it kicks ass, and then also some of the more intricate elements of their songwriting are on display as well. So really solid
sure.
album.
Yeah, this record had I'm usually pretty resistant to dancey bluesy stuff, but this record has just enough fucking balls and grit to it that the dancey and bluesy parts didn't bother me at all, and that they even were a nice respite or whatever that word is. They were a nice break from the grit, having the dancey bluesy stuff, and it was so much White Stripes and Black Keys and Queens of the Stone Age, like all over this record.
For sure.
Totally.
That
For sure.
you know, definitely loved those parts as well.
Yeah, you can definitely hear the. I always hear, especially the Queens of the Stone Age. Like it's that album especially. It's just all over the place, and it's so sick.
Yeah.
Dude, like on Look Like You Know, that fucking bass part that's just like dun dun dun. I'm
Right.
like, dude, that's so like no one knows Queens of the Stone Age, like that the tone of it, you know?
Totally. Well, and yeah,
And,
I mean, like that song is just like so much like different from a lot of the album too. Like that's what I really like about that album is it goes like all it's like kind of it's all under the same general theme, but it's like peaks and valleys, man. Like that song's pretty straight, just like kind of spacey groove, and then you'll have like Where Are You Now, which is like just chugging, and then it just gets into this gnarly riff, and like it's that album's just I think it's perfect, man. I have not stopped listening to it since it came out. Like what, 4 or 5 years ago?
5 years ago, 2017.
That's crazy.
What
Shit.
fucked up, by the way,
Yeah,
how like old these albums are.
Yeah, legit.
Right.
It's like, yeah, this came out last year, right? A decade ago? Okay, right on. That's nice.
Dude, I was talking about that shit with my buddy last night. He showed me at the drive-in when we were in 5th grade. And he
man.
played me One Arm Scissor when we were in 5th grade, and I was just like, dude, that was almost 30 years ago. Almost like 25 years ago or something. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, At the Drive-In was a thing fucking 25 years ago?
It's gonna be counted as oldies here in like just a fucking turn of the fucking
right.
decade.
Well,
Classic
I heard
rock radio
Brain Stew.
station.
Yeah, I heard Brain Stew on a classic rock station the other day. I was like, fuck you.
I'm not this old. I'm not this old.
Personally offended by that.
Dude, the one I know for a fact, the one that's gonna kill me, because this album for some reason still feels like it came out yesterday for me, but All Hope Is Gone by Slipknot still feels like it came out like last week, and that was like 14, 15 years ago. Like, I don't know, some albums just like you remember them when they were brand new, like, and they stick with you, and then it just never goes away, you know?
Yeah. I remember when this first album came out, the first Royal Blood album came out, I was in college, and it was like, you know, it was like this band you never heard, and they got this fresh take on the bass drum duo thing, and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. And whenever I look back, 2014, like nearly 10 years ago, like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it was weird for me to say that I hadn't seen my friend or talked to him in 20 years. It made me feel old just to be able to say that. I haven't seen this guy in 20
Right.
fucking years.
Right.
You know, like
yeah.
that shit I heard my dad say when I was growing up. I haven't talked to this guy in 20 years. I'm like, holy shit.
That's what I'm
Such a
saying,
long time, man.
That's like, dude, if I were to say that, it would make no sense because I'm 21. But like, you know, like I'm dreading the day that I get to say that. You know?
It's weird, dude.
Fucking, and I mean, yeah, with the whole fucking, especially with these records and shit, like, it also goes to show like how timeless the production on some of these records is too, and that's another reason why I love all of Royal Blood's major releases so far is that the production on them is so crisp. Like,
Dude, I was
So
going to call that out on
tight.
this, man. The production on this record is fucking great.
yeah, and like all the different like, that's the thing about Royal Blood. Like, you know, with our band, we kind of go for like we've got like our sound and like our dynamics will change, but like we won't really be changing tones a whole lot or doing a whole lot of like flipping around of like different atmospheres and shit like that.
Right.
Royal Blood is the kind of group that will just like hold themselves in the studio and be playing around with all these fucking different sounds and shit. It's almost like, you know, they don't have any one set tone for any one set dynamic. They're always fucking changing that shit up, you know.
Yeah, I think I saw their pedal board before, and you know their pedal board and all their amps, and it's just an insane setup. I don't know how you remember what pedals to use on which songs or any of that, or how you figure like, ooh, this pedal with this pedal is going to be the right tone.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's just
they-
fucking laboratory shit at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, but that's why I've always been so bare bones with like the tones that I try and go for, because I don't want to have to fucking think about this shit when I'm playing it live. You know, I'm just like, I just want to be able to turn on a pedal and I'm good to go. But I realize that doesn't that kind of takes away a lot of dynamics out of the music. But I just don't care because I'm lazy and I just want to have one fucking pedal.
Well, on the subject of the Royal Blood pedal board too, I'm pretty sure they have one of those ones where like you kind of route all of the pedals into their own separate like effects loop more or less, and then like you can actually program like you have like different channel switches, and then like you can program each channel to go run through different like sequences of pedals and shit like that
for whatever song they're playing, right?
Exactly.
Like like you hear Lights Out and you hear like that cool octaverse shit that bang out and I'm just like, dude, like those little, like, super White Stripesy, first of all, but like those little moments on the album where like he changes the sound of the bass to where it sounds like a completely different instrument at that point. I was like, man, I love hearing like people that have that ingenuity and the fucking patience to do it too, man, to figure that shit out.
Right.
Hell yeah.
You can totally tell with those guys, they just lock themselves in the studio and just endless tools, and they just fuck around until they get a sick sound. Because all the different atmospheres on the album, through all three of their albums, it's like, it's rare to hear the same exact tone in any other song, you know, from one song. Like, it's generally the same theme, same idea, but then, you know, one will be way heavier on the fuzz, one will be way heavier on like a phaser, one will be way heavier. So it's nuts the amount of sounds that those guys get, and that's something I think that we're gonna Mug Dog is gonna try and get more into as time goes on.
Like, just
very
fucking around
dynamic.
with different shit, you know, like, really, I mean, and you know, another band to mention along the two-piece realm, even though it isn't bass, is 68. It's Josh
shit.
Scogan, I think, is the dude's name previously from the Chariot, I want to say, and like it's a two-piece and it's guitar and drums or whatever, and like the different dynamic layerings that they have, not necessarily even the differing tones, but just the dynamic layerings of their live show. Like, it'll be just guitar, it'll be like guitar and sub-octave, it'll be just sub-octave, and then it'll be like guitar sub-octave and then like an ultra sub that pushes the house and shit like that, and like, you know, that kind of layering and shit like that. Like, you know, really, I mean, Royal Blood and all these different two pieces, I definitely need to listen to more Death from Above, because like what I've heard is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like their first couple albums would suit y'all pretty well.
When we've even gotten the comparison once or twice before about Death from Above, and that's kind of how I heard about them in the first place. And yeah, I mean, are they from across the pond as well? I want to say that they're from like the UK,
Canada,
or
I think.
I think they're from Canada.
Canada. Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Well then, fuck
Across
those
the
guys.
lakes.
Yeah, we don't like them anymore.
Fucking
Never
Canucks.
mind.
Yeah, I'm not gonna peep their album. They're too damn nice.
But yeah, it's crazy how they have all these different sounds, and they could be subtle, but it's also very coherent across the album. It never sounds like a mess, and it does still sound tight, even with all these different sounds. Like, that's a fantastic production.
Dude, and those drums are so punchy. Those have got to be the punchiest fucking drums I've ever heard on a rock record, dude.
Yeah, it's, dude, especially on Where Are You Now, like the driving riff of the verse, it's like those toms are just like punching you in the heart, dude. Like, it's
Seriously,
insane.
man.
Yeah.
I got a fucking palpitation listening to it.
Yep. You ever feel that
I
little
got
quiver
low
in
blood
your ass
pressure.
when you're listening to good drums on like, oh, the compression. Oh, ha, wow.
Like, is that the brown note?
Yeah.
Well,
Brown
no, let's not get into that.
Yeah.
No, let's talk brown notes for a second here.
Yeah, okay. No,
That's for our OnlyFans podcast.
We're all drinking coffee. We got to talk about the brown note.
it's inevitable. You can't avoid it.
I think the drummer, I mean, y'all obviously, like, you guys are bigger fans and know Royal Blood a lot more than I do, but like, I feel like the drummer is not amazing, but he does exactly what he needs to do, and he does it really well.
Well, at the very least, he doesn't display like a whole lot of chops or anything like that, but
Right.
he is just rock solid on the fucking tempo, and sometimes
Just so
that
in the
speaks
pocket
more.
the whole time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sometimes speaks more to
And
like the
sometimes
capabilities of a drummer.
You know, that's all you need. I don't think I've ever heard anything too impressive across their discography, but you know, at least he's not trying to show off, and he's bad, and he's like off tempo, and it sounds nasty. You know?
Right. Yeah. I think there was a couple fills that I picked out in the record that I was like, ooh, that was a nice little, nice little touch there.
Probably the funniest fill that I've ever heard on any song is I think it's the first song where you buku buku buku
Oh, yeah.
buku 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 buku. and that's it.
Yep.
And I was like, what is that?
He kind of like, yeah, he gets a lot of praise in the drum world for like how effective his simplicity is, you know.
Very, yeah.
Right.
And it's so like, you know, you as a drummer, it's like, you know, I can sit there and listen and be like, oh, you know, I could play this or whatever, and then you start running along to it, and it's like, this dude is perfect, and he hits like so hard, but then he can also hit so quiet, and you know, I feel like he's a guy of like every style, you know, but he's gonna continue to portray all these styles as they make more music, like. Especially on the newest album, like it's like way like it's a lot of very simple, but it's a way different style than the first two albums, and he's honestly one of my favorite drummers because you know I listen to rap more than anything. I don't even like listen to music I play. And
rap is my go-to.
Yeah, so like I'm looking at my Wu-Tang vinyl right now because it reminds me, you know, their drummer Ben, I can't remember his last name, but. I'm really into like hip hop drumming nowadays, and a lot of it's just holding it down. And he's like one of the best I've ever seen at it. And I've been trying to study his work a lot more lately for that reason.
Dude, have you heard of L. Michaels Affair?
Nuh-uh.
He does instrumental remixes of Wu-Tang songs. So he did like a 36 Chambers remix album where he makes them into like kind of I wouldn't say lo-fi, but it's like he just makes it into like really cool DJ beat music, and he like mixes in a lot of like 60s and 70s soul stuff into it. Man, you should check it out. If just as a fan of Wu-Tang, also like I love what L. Michaels Affair has done with Wu-Tang songs. Like made him his own. They're fucking cool.
Word. Awesome. Did he do the like Pink Floyd crossover by chance? Did he do that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
There was like a Dark Side of the Moon and Liquid Swords like mashup.
Oh,
it's wild, dude. You should.
I didn't even know that existed.
It's wild. It's on YouTube, bro. It's kind of wild. Like, it's like, yeah, he just like mashes all this shit together, and it's actually sick. Like, it's just jizz verses over like Dark Side. It's fucking wild.
Holy
might need
shit.
to stop the podcast, and we'll talk about that on the second half.
Yeah, let's pause now. Liquid Swords is like one of my favorite fucking records.
Yeah, it's my all-time favorite album, man. It's perfect.
It's amazing.
Perfect.
Dude, did you know, like, I didn't realize how much Wu-Tang was influenced by all the old, like, kung fu from the 70s and 60s?
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, they literally took their names from some of those movies. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, Ghostface Killah and, yeah.
I have Legend of Liquid Sword right here on VHS, dude.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, generally their whole theme is surrounding, you know, Wu-Tang vs. Shaolin and all those old Wu-Tang movies and shit, and...
Yep, I have fucking Iron Man, Legend of the Liquid Sword, and then fucking Old Dirty Kung Fu.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Old Dirty Kung Fu.
I didn't know that these things existed. I just made a really good friends with my neighbor here, and he was like, dude, are you into Kung Fu movies? I was like, yeah. And he just pulls out this stack of the Wu-Tang movies. I was like, what the fuck?
Damn, that's ill. I know my
Goldmine.
My homie that when he moved down to Austin recently, he has got like a DVD with like it literally just says like a bunch of Kung Fu movies or something. It's got like 20 on there, and we got just super baked one night and just watched Kung Fu movies all night, and it was like the best thing ever.
I was telling Brett I got really baked. We were watching this like 70s Jackie Chan movie, me and my buddy, the other night, and I use like vaporizers. Like I have like a volcano and shit, and that's how I fucking consume. And my buddy smokes, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna fucking destroy this guy. I'm gonna get him so fucking high on a volcano. I'm gonna like ruin his night. And then dude, he was like a fucking like professional about it, and I was the one that got way too high. And I was just sitting there like watching, you know, all this like
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna fucking pass out.
I'm gonna yak.
It was bad, dude. I almost greened out hardcore.
Oh, damn.
All right. Nerd talk is over.
Nerd talk.
The nerd talk section.
You bunch of geeks.
What are you talking about, bro?
Willie and I are
So
taking
cool.
the podcast back.
All right, going back to the record, like Brett always fucking makes me do. There was a lot of White Stripes also in the drumming, but this dude's way better than Meg White.
I'd say he's a more harder hitting maybe more proficient version. Meg White's also just the queen of solid, but I'd say I'd like him more than Meg White for sure, personally.
I think it's that he understands that he's not really the star of this band, and that might be a little harsh, but the bass is riffing the entire time. The singer is, has these great, catchy,
Super
good
catchy
vocals, and he understands that, like, if he does anything more than what he's doing, it's going to take away from the songs that they make,
Right.
and it's just going to make it a lot more messy, and I really appreciate that. I've always loved that about drummers.
Yeah, it's like on Look Like You Know, like during the bridge with that fucking sick riff during the bridge of Look Like You Know, and then the drummers just just on the toms, just like really straightforward and everything, but it's like, dude, it's perfect for the moment.
Right.
I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it too is like, this is something we're trying to work on as well, is like, it's, you're trying to like make it bounce, you want to make people in the crowd bounce, you want to make people in the crowd move. And it's kind of hard to do that, especially as a two-piece if your drummer's, all over the place.
Right.
Because, you might have that luxury in like a five-piece, right? Because if you're going crazy, maybe the rhythm guitarist is holding it down, you get some help from percussion or... so he doesn't really, it doesn't fit the music to go crazy. The goal is to make people bounce, so... He'll have his little moments where he goes crazy, but that's it, because he's got to make the crowd bounce a little bit. So that's something I'm trying to work on as well, is less active and more bounce for sure.
Yeah, man, you guys, like, I was checking out Mug Dog earlier this week. Would I be correct in saying that you guys are really influenced by Royal Blood?
Oh, for 100%.
Definitely,
yeah.
big time.
That's why we picked this album, because it's probably our like most prominently influential album towards our sound. Just through the heavy moments and the overall sound and the groove of it, and it's. I mean,
definitely... I generally say y'all are a little more hardcore.
Totally.
Yeah, you guys are pretty
time,
heavy.
so
yeah,
we're definitely more. My first hero was Joey Jordison. And
fuck yeah, man.
we
rest
grew
in peace, dude.
We grew up playing metal our whole lives, and it just kind of, our whole sound is kind of representative of what it sounded like when we were jamming in our basement every day for 15 years growing up, and it was a lot of metal, and so we're kind of like moving away from it slowly, but we stick with it, it's kind of our general.
He says we're moving away from it.
I'm moving. I don't listen.
Yeah, Willie's vocals aren't gonna let you move away too far.
Look, I mean, inevitably, like, here's the kind of the thing is like, inevitably, like, Nico's gonna bring that pocket groove, that I'm gonna make your ass shake kind of shit, and I'm more or less gonna bring that fucking, alright, well, my amp's gonna be squealing in the background for a lot of this shit, and I just love all of that, so we're gonna keep that. And like, it's like, the nice thing too is that like, inevitably, it's gonna sound full and it's gonna sound heavy, but also like it's gonna be more along the groovy side. Like we usually, like, all of our homies in bands have either been in kind of the psych scene around here or like the heavier kind of stoner or hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, we're either the heaviest band among all these psych bands or we're like the grooviest band at this fucking metal shit. So like,
but that's cool. You guys can fit in each setting,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to play more shows, like, over at the Lost Well, for sure, and, like, play with some of those fucking, like, I mean, shit, like, Weed Eater comes through there every so often, and shit like that. I want to play with some of those loud bands and just get loud. So, like, hopefully we can do that real soon.
I'd say a perfect way to explain our dynamic is, like, when we're in practice and we're trying to, like, write a new groove or write a new song or something, my suggestion will be, like, Whistle While You Twerk by the Ying Yang Twins, and then, like... His is like just some sludge, metal,
some nails and some fucking like.
So we kind of are trying to bridge the gap between Whistle While You Twerk and like Wide Open Wound by Nails. That's kind of.
But that's an interesting tightrope to walk, man. And it'll be really cool to see like how you like what you come up with in the future.
Yeah, I mean it probably won't sound like the Ying Yang Twins too much, but
not with that attitude. Skeet so much they call me Billy Ocean.
Just gotta get Willie to whisper. As long as he whispers, y'all are good.
Yeah.
I love the Ying Yang twins.
Dude, I fucking love the Ying Yang twins.
They're so ridiculous. Yeah, dude. Their episode of MTV Cribs is fucking legendary.
Oh, dude. All time, dude. I grew
Yeah.
up watching that shit.
But yeah, before we get back on this tangent on other things that aren't related to the Royal Blood album.
We're back out of it. We're back.
Yeah.
What have we done?
Fucking, alright, low key, this is a Ying Yang podcast.
Yeah. We're going to study episodes of MTV Cribs and really get deep on how many flavors of vitamin water Dwayne Wade had.
I posit that we go to the Nar Nug section of this podcast, unless there was anything else y'all wanted to say about the album in general, just real quick.
It's sick titties.
It's pretty thick. It's
Sick titties for sure.
I dig
Sick
it.
titties. For sure.
It really, it's yeah.
It's pretty thick. No, y'all are good to
y'all
move on.
All right, let's well, who wants to go first in telling their two favorite songs on the record?
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'll just do it.
It is time, it is time, it is time for choice nugs. It is time, it is time, it is time for choice nugs.
He's like, I don't play games.
Yeah, so my two favorite songs in the album, for sure, and have been since it came out, are She's Creeping and Where Are You Now?
Let's talk about She's Creeping first, because that is also one of my choice nugs on the record.
Oh, for sure. It's just the nastiest groove. You know, like I said, I'm all into, making people bounce, and just that like heavy like wah tone that like kind of wah, like distorted wah tone that he has through the chorus, the wah 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 wah. It's just
and I
so
love
nasty, dude.
Love how it drops into that after this intro of like just very high notes and not much going on, and then cause just listen.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No,
it's so juicy.
Totally, man. What I really like about both of the songs that I picked is how it transitions from just like something completely different to just this like unforgettably nasty groove. And that's my kind of shit when I'm listening to music like that. Is just like vibe change, and you're just sitting there like stank face for like the whole chorus, like yeah,
it's super dancey. She's Creeping.
Oh, totally, man. It's like that song never gets old for me. I've heard it like 40,000 times at this point. I'm just every time just banging my head, dude. It's just too good.
It's so catchy. It's such the riff sticks in your head,
Right?
Whether you like it or not.
Right, totally. And I'm as a producer, I love doing like harmonies when I'm making rap music and like R&B music and stuff, like, and the little harmonies that they do in the final chorus, it's like
man.
it's every part about that song is just like perfect for me. Like that's probably one of my all-time favorite songs for sure.
For sure.
And then the other one was Where Are You Now?
Where Are You Now? Yeah, that is.
I believe that's probably like one of the most rockin' songs on the record, if I remember correctly.
Totally, it's got that driving tom groove.
Yeah.
And then it just stops, goes almost dead silent, and then
I love that.
And then your fucking jaw just like flies out of your face for that main riff. Like it is just the gnarliest. I'll never forget hearing that for the first time and just like, not even stank face, like just like angry, like why didn't we write this, like it's,
Dude, yeah, that riff is the riffage on this album is pretty fucking sick, and that riff that doo 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 doo. I'm like,
and it's like
so simple, so effective.
Totally, and I'm all for. It's got swing too, which is so. Willie and I always are just jamming heavy swing. Like that's all day. That's like my favorite shit, and it goes from the straightest like tom groove to just like. It's just like waving, dude. Like. And then the bridge in that song too is super sick. Just the whole development of that track is wild, and
The fact that we're all thinking about it and all having these physical movements
Yeah, we're all
attached
just
to it is like...
We're all like,
Y'all can't see
like
the camera.
when it's all like...
We're all flying around, yeah.
And then the toms like...
Yeah.
I mean, that song must be so fun to play on drums, man.
Oh, totally.
Just like blasting it when it opens up in the bridge, like you were saying. I love that part, and singers just going off, and
Totally.
they just sound like they're having fun with it, man.
Totally, and I also, I love I'm a huge Periphery fan, and I always think of Make Total Destroy. They end that song just so wild, and that song I think came out before the Royal Blood song did, but the end of Where You Now has that and
Yeah, I love that little
I love
riff.
those crazy endings, man. Like everything about that song just is so ill. Like it's too good.
Yeah, man. My one of my favorite songs on the record was "Lights Out."
Oh, for sure.
Such a simple rhythm to it, but like it oddly reminded me of U2 in a weird way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I hear like Bono in like a Bono melody and how he's singing. It's kind of like that da da da, like kind of. I don't know. It reminded me a lot of like '80s U2.
That's sick. I've never thought of it like that. Yeah.
Dude, I love South Park. I love the speaking of Yaz. That's why Lights Out was one of my favorite songs on the record because I love that. Dude, yeah.
Oh God.
That chorus is fucking sick, dude.
Oh yeah. I think that was the single on the album.
That was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and I
okay.
remember when that came out, it was like, oh shit, yeah, this it's going down for sure. Like that was a really good way to set the tone for the rest of the album. It's just an amazingly written song.
And that little
sure.
that was one of the drum fills that stuck out to me was like in the pre-chorus where he's like doing like I don't even know, he's like doing he's like hitting the hi-hat and then I think like a couple of cowbells or something or like wood blocks.
Oh man, I gotta think of it.
Yeah.
Oh, the wood blocks. Yeah. That's
Love the
I
wood
forgot
blocks
about
on
that.
this
He
album.
incorporates the wood blocks throughout that album. That's something that I've been wanting to toy with too. It's such a sick texture, man. Like
Really is.
it's just like it adds so much, and it'll cut through any mix too. It's just like
Right.
Yeah. Dude, and that riff in the bridge, that I'm like,
So sexy. So sexy.
riffage, dude, left and right.
Right. Just the most, and like again, the effective simplicity, man. That drum part through that whole bridge is just.
Yeah,
It's so
just doing what he's
sick.
got to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sick, man. It's sick. What was your? Did you have another track that you rocked with?
I do, man. I had some honorable mentions because there was a lot of good songs on this. I loved "Where Are You Now."
Yeah.
I really like "Hook, Line, and Sinker."
Oh fuck that.
Right.
That's definitely one of mine
Yeah,
for sure.
that's like just a super banger, man.
Dude, that like verse melody is just so catchy and so fun to sing along to.
Totally.
And it's like it kind of like it dials into almost the sort of whimsical side of like their songwriting too, like particularly the up octave lick that's going behind the vocals. It's all bendy. Like while he's just doing this like back and forth.
Yeah,
It's
love
so
that.
fucking cool, man.
I love that. Yeah, and they're really good at bridges.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Bridges
you don't
and
hear a lot of
outros.
good bridges these days.
Totally. Well, it just their song development in general, just for almost every song, is just like you can tell they really sit down and think about it and plan it out. It's not just like a jam a song and write it in a day. They're sitting on it and trying to come up with something because their songs will just move around crazy, man, like whole different sections, and then they always find a way to tie it right back into the verse.
And I
Yeah,
feel
man,
like, structurally it probably has something to do with the fact that they are a two-piece and that, I mean, they work a lot of layers in, like, in production and shit like that, but, like, generally speaking, I could imagine maybe during their creative process while they're still working out, like, the overall sections of the songs, before they really work in any of the, like, post, like, layers and shit like that, they're probably kind of going like, all right, well, we got to keep this interesting, because if we just keep driving on this or doing this, then, you know, with only bass and drums, you know, or I guess harmonically speaking, like in terms of dynamic, there's only so much you can really get away with in that particular area.
Yeah, your brain might check out, 3 minutes in.
For sure.
If they don't switch it up on you, yeah.
Having the structural changes is a nice way to just kind of like switch the dynamic without having to add like a shitload of layers. But then anything else that you add in after the fact, especially in these bridges, like they'll throw in shakers, they'll throw in like different kinds of little tiny, just like tasteful like things just to like spice up a section. And having that extra bit of like freedom to where it's like, well, this next section is like kind of a pull on the previous one, but we're going to change it up like this and add this, and like, you know,
just enough of a change to kind of like it makes your ears perk up a little bit.
Legit, exactly.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I feel like me and Brett call out a lot too how like the ordering of tracks, like when you can tell when a band has thought that much into the album, that it's not just a collection of songs, it's like a whole piece,
Right.
And I feel like they did that on this record really, really well, where like the tracks go back and forth. They like the ride that it takes you on is really good, and I feel like Don't Tell, which is another kind of honorable mention of mine, is just such a perfect like kind of let's slow it down and like quiet it down a little bit, and that I'm like, that melody is just so fucking beautiful.
Totally. Yeah, all three of their albums, they've done an incredible job of making it feel like one consistent piece, opposed to just, like you said, like a collection of songs. And just, like, it's so well thought out, everything they do. And for how many sounds they can get to, and for a two-piece, and all making all those sounds sound like one piece, man, it's just like, they're just setting the tone for two pieces in the world right now, man. And they're
just good songwriting,
just
dude.
Incredible songwriting.
Yeah.
And nothing too complicated either. Like, it's very friendly to any ear,
For sure.
And musicians, are also, freaking out about all the intricacies and whatnot. Like, it's just no complaints about Royal Blood ever, man. They're too good.
I think something about Death from Above in '68 is that they're a lot less accessible to like a mainstream audience. These guys, completely accessible. Your mom will love it. Right. Your dog will love it.
Totally.
My dog does love it. Yeah. And I think my dog's choice nug was "Look Like You Know." That is a fucking great song,
He literally took
dude.
a shit on the floor as soon as the song started. It was so sick.
Like,
all of a sudden I look over and he's a basset hound, so he's fucking headbanging, his ears are flopping around.
Holy
what
shit,
does your dog like
really
about that
rips.
song?
I gotta go to the dark spot.
Oh God! No. We're back. We're back.
Yeah, I think my dog's favorite part is that fucking badass bridge riff. Like that do no 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 no. I'm like, oh.
Your dog said
cream jeans.
That's just straight metal. That's just straight up a metal riff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Legit.
And it just comes out of nowhere too, man. I love it. And it's just like with all the toms and shit.
Like with those backing vocals, kind of doing the high, like.
Man, their vocal layering in sections like that is always just like, dude, it's so sick. I'm such a sucker for harmonies and background vocal layers, just for adding, spatial audio, and they're the best at it, man. Especially in that song, in that section, and like I said, She's Creeping earlier, and.
Yeah.
Well, even on Lights Out, in the pre-chorus, the in my time,
for
that
sure,
kind of stuff. Like, you got to be able to hear that kind of shit in your head before you can put it on record, and you can tell that they're like just stewing on this shit, going like, what would be just and then we throw in a little,
like a muppet, like
Yeah. So Willie, one of your choice nugs was Hook, Line, and Sinker.
Hook, Line, and Sinker for sure. I mean, that song is just like
makes a lot of sense.
Yep, it's riffy, it's dirty, and then like the verse is like, I mean, a lot of their stuff is very pretty, and like, that's not a detriment to any of theirs. Like, when it's pretty, it's fucking gorgeous and shit. But like, this song is kind of like, if anything, it's more reminiscent of like the sound on that first record, that first Royal Blood album.
Right, for sure.
and it's like, you know, chorus is like catchy enough and everything, and then like, I mean, really, it's like, in terms of like the overall composition, it's probably one of their more dialed back tunes. Like, it's one of their more straightforward, like, it's the bass and the drums like just kind of kicking ass, and that's the grand majority of it. Like, they're not adding a bunch of synth layers or doing a whole bunch of shit to it, but it's just such a catchy song naturally that it's just fucking like right up in your face and doing all the shit.
Yeah, they knew the bass and the vocals could like speak for themselves, and they really don't need to, like, even the song structure is pretty simple, but it's good, you know. It doesn't need to be complex or anything.
Legit.
What's your other choice, Nug, Willie?
My other choice, Nug, is fucking "Hole in Your Heart." That song, yeah. When we first heard that song, and I mean that synth comes in, that
So nice.
I remember I heard that shit, and it was just, it wasn't even loud yet. Like, none of the song had really even kicked in while this synth is going, and he starts in on his vocals, and I just couldn't help from just being like, oh, that is just it. There was something about that fucking synth melody that just had me fucking going.
You're like, I gotta go to the dark spot.
Yeah, dark spot time, dark spot, dark spot,
dark spot.
Yeah, fucking, that was a real dark spot moment on the record for me.
In a good way.
Use that. We can't use that as a
this is not
metric
gonna
for
stick
anything.
like how things stick in the dark spot.
The dark spot.
No, but that's one of those songs for sure that hearing that little keyboard line where I remember exactly where we were when we heard it for the first time, because it's just like that prominent, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like also just throughout the course of the song, like it's another one of those songs that's like, you know, the chorus hits a little bit harder and everything, and it like. But also, like, the different layers that they managed to incorporate. And then they hit that bridge or whatever, that... Like,
yeah.
It seems like they're doing a lot of upstroke kind of action over the course of that song, you know. On the chorus, too, like... Like, those little kind of pickups and shit. Like,
yeah.
you know, that fucking... It shifts my pelvis every time I hear that kind of stuff.
And the drummer shows a little bit of chops with the like really fast like snare that like just that little fill is just so perfect, like so perfectly played, and it's not like intricate or, you know, impossible to play, but you just hear it and you're like, this guy has like a metronome for a fucking heart.
Oh, totally, and it's just always tasteful with that guy. Like, it's just never gonna be like, well, that was out of place. It's always just like, holy shit, that was perfect. Like, absolutely perfect for the song.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like you stick this dude in a fucking drum clinic somewhere and ask him to like do some fucking ape shit bullshit, and he'll probably pull some shit out that's like, oh my god,
Sure.
I couldn't even fucking like. Why don't you do that? And then it's just kind of like, well, because we play for the song. We write songs. It's not just like, look at me on drums and look at me on bass. Like, fucking, they're out here composing. And that drummer, like, and even throughout that particular song, too, it's like, you know, he really opens up a lot in the chorus, like, with that snare roll leading in, and he's just kind of, like, rocking that shit. And then once they come back to the little, like, the verse groove or whatever, he's just, like, basically goes straight from big rock drummer to just like fucking tight groove, fucking like super tight in the
just
pocket,
holding it down,
you know. And that dynamic change, I mean, you can tell that both of them can really, they don't just incorporate dynamics because the producer told them to. Like, they fucking, like, they know their shit about the breadth of a song and what can like really draw somebody into a part and then pull somebody back into something. And like, that particular song is a really, really great example of all the different dynamics that they're able to change around with.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's a good one. Brett, what was your second choice, Nug?
Yeah, my first one was She's Creepin', along with Nico, and my second one is actually Don't Tell.
Such
real
a good
quick
song, man.
Yeah, it's got a lot of space in it. It's got that kind of like flanger or tremolo or whatever on the bass.
Yeah.
I love the vocals. It's one of the most chill songs, but I don't know, man. I think it's really cool harmonies. and I just love that space, man, that air. It's
sure.
it's as you said before, it's a great breather for the album.
Right.
Coming right before Hook, Line, and Sinker. Right.
Yeah, dude, that's what I mean. That fucking track order, man. They did that shit on purpose.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
It makes Hook, Line, and Sinker hit that much harder, man. It's just brilliant
Right.
album dynamic, and
it makes Don't Tell stand out so much more too.
for real.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfectly
Yeah.
placed, and yeah.
Yeah. So those are all our nugs, and next
Pretty much
comes
the whole
section.
album.
Yeah.
No, I kind of like the fact that it was like, I mean, Don't Tell was kind of the sleeper on the record for me. Like, kind of like it's been a while since I've heard the album. Then leading up to this podcast, I was like, all right, time to listen to the album again. And I had almost forgotten about that song. Like, I was thinking
Right.
about all the other songs on the record that I remembered. But then, like, the few songs on there that are kind of like, oh shit, like, I haven't really heard these tunes individually since the last time I listened to, like, the full record. Don't Tell was one of them, and it's just like, man, even the songs on the album that, like, I go back and listen to, and I mean, on so many records, there's so many songs that are just like, oh, we need another song, and you can kind
Filler.
of feel it, But there's, like, no space for that. Like, literally, they could just randomly have picked any one of those songs to be singles on the fucking
Totally.
release, and
Yeah.
like, and the fact that their first single was Lights Out, like Nico said, it really like set the tone for what the rest of the record was gonna be like. But any one of those songs could have very well in its own way done, a similar sort of thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead, Brett.
Just the fact that we all chose like like 6 different songs,
Yeah.
as our favorite songs on the album shows you how like solid this record is. And I honestly don't think there's a single filler song on this
No,
album.
no,
legit.
these guys definitely went to the Sum 41 school of all killer, no filler. Like, for sure. Yeah, there isn't one skippable song on this record. Like, it's a solid fucking rock album.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, I think is it time, Brett?
It's time for the segment that we always love to forget to tell our guests about, which is rating the album on a scale of 0 to 10.
We're back on the scales, dude. So
We're back on the
thought-
scales.
What is your rating?
If y'all want us to go first, so you can like think of where you're gonna place this, we can go ahead and do that. All right, I'll start.
Big surprise.
I love this record. I've heard it multiple times before. Royal Blood is one of my favorite 2 pieces. Also, one of the 6 2 pieces that I know of. It's got super catchy songs, super great riffs. I would say the lyrics to me are cool at times, but usually kind of the least important thing in the song to me. Like the actual meanings of the lyrics and all that.
Agreed.
It's kind of all about just like love, girlfriend,
Totally.
But it all sounds cool. I think a lot
Right.
of the lyrics are just cool sounding. Yeah.
And I think my favorite Royal Blood record is the first one, just because I love that they're a little more rockin'. They got a little more riffage that's a little dirtier.
It's that
But-
caveman in you, man.
It's the caveman in me.
Yeah.
It's me being a caveman. And Typhoons, they definitely step more into being kind of a more pop synth band. They definitely kind of left the moniker of rock, which isn't a bad thing. It's kind of where they were progressing to. And with all that being said, I'm gonna rate this one it was gonna be a little lower, but throughout this podcast, like y'all being so enthusiastic, I'm gonna put it at an 8 out of 10.
Solid.
Nice, dude.
Nice.
Yeah. I really enjoy this one. I had never heard Royal Blood before I listened to this record. So this is a
Really?
great... Yeah, I never had. I know that you liked them a lot, Brett. Like, you've mentioned them to me multiple times, and I just, like, haven't checked them out.
Because
Yeah,
you're
I
never
was-
really listening when I talk.
I kind of black out every time. But yeah, man, this is a great introduction to Royal Blood, I think. Really good riffs. Like I said, they have just enough like grit and balls to the whole record that the bluesy, dancey stuff, like, I thought worked really, really well. I'm not as big of a fan of Death from Above. We covered them before in a previous podcast, so I was a little worried when the first song started, because I was like, damn, this is very similar. And then as the album played out, I was like, no, these guys are definitely a lot more my style, and great vocals, great songwriting, great production. Yeah, man, I'm going to give it, I don't know if I'm going to go back and listen to the album as a whole, but there's definitely a solid 5 or 6 songs that are going to like end up on a playlist someday. So I'm giving it like a 7.6.
Right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Nico, do you want to go first on the rating?
Yeah. This album for me is like, my ultimate 10 out of 10 would be Jizza Liquid Swords. So comparative to that, I don't think anything could ever touch that. So my rating for this album is like a 9.5. It's definitely one of my favorite, probably top 20, 30 albums of my entire lifetime.
Wow.
It's stuck with me since the moment it came out. It really, really, really influenced what me and Willie are doing now with Mug Dog. Just a very, very, very prominent piece of art in my life that it has unique qualities to it for me personally. So, nothing is as good as Liquid Swords, but 9.5 is pretty damn close.
That's a high bar to set, man.
Yeah.
Liquid Sword.
I've had so many Wu-Tang albums in my I have to listen to playlist. That one's next on the list. That's my next album I'm going to listen to.
Oh, for sure.
Swords.
Best album ever. No question.
It's amazing. Dude, 9.5, that's solid, dude.
Well, so it was like a 9.5.
Yeah.
So it's more like a 9.25,
Out of 10, which is kind of crazy.
Dude, as many decimal points as you need. We allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't limit that kind of stuff here.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Willie.
This record is one that, like, having the first Royal Blood album set such a strong, a really strong point about, who this band is, and, we're showing up on the scene. And,
Right.
The fact that they, didn't just kind of make your usual sequel album, it wasn't like, oh, people liked the first one, we got to do more of that. Like, they fucking very methodically kind of incorporated some of the elements that, separate it from that first album, but then also, as you were saying with Typhoons, it's like it, you can feel that progression from the first album to Typhoons through this second album.
It's such a slow and smooth transition throughout the discography.
Totally.
Really it is. And, I'd say that given, how much they had to live up to with the hype around that first album and what they delivered with that second release, all of the layering, the production, I'm going to give this one, an 8.7. A solid B+,
Okay. All right.
because I guess if I were to put a 10 on any one record, oh shit, I'm putting myself in a spot right now.
You just did it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
We did not ask.
A 10 for me would probably, just because I'm a fucking fanboy, be Master of Reality by Black Sabbath. Just because I'm a fanboy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fucking, I probably can't even explain my way around that one. But, fucking, there's just so many elements of this record that make it its own fucking piece. And, I can't necessarily say what would be any better about it. I think that, the progression that they display without either completely shifting or without just being more repetitive from the first album is really the most impressive part of the whole record for me. And in terms of the individual songs too, it's a record where when I listen to it front to back, I enjoy it very much. But then when I really just want to hear some choice bangers, I can go back to that album and there's 5 or 6 of them, like Lucas was saying. So I'd say 8.7 is probably where I'm at on that one.
All right. It seems like we're kind of all in the 8s, the 8 to 9 kind of deal.
We all very much like this record.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's
a very good record. Check it out if you haven't already. Thank you all for listening to this episode. You can find Earbuds on EVPcast, Instagram, John Luke Guitard, Brett Hanrahan on Instagram. We have a YouTube, Podbean, whatever. Willie, Nico, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you want to plug as Mug Dog or the other band that you mentioned and I forgot the name of?
It's a hard name. You're not the first. It's Anders Jarrett Band. But Mug Dog is playing this weekend at Red River on Red River. The 10th and the 11th.
The 11th and the 12th.
11th and the 12th. My bad.
Lucas, do you know when this episode is coming out?
This episode's coming out on the 14th. Any shows after that? Do y'all have any shows after the 14th?
We'll use this moment to shame everybody who didn't come to our
Right.
show.
Oh, you
We
weren't
already
there?
know who did and didn't come to that show.
Yep. You weren't there? Well, guess what? You're blacklisted. It's not gonna... You're black spotted.
We're gonna name names.
I would just say we've got some shows in March as well. Follow us on Instagram at mugdog_ATX, and we'll keep you very updated with shows, and we'd love to see some new faces in the crowd.
Yeah, man.
Y'all
Check
have
out
any-
Mug Dog on Spotify. They got some music on there too, man. Killer fucking
Bandcamp,
music.
SoundCloud. Do y'all
Yeah.
have any like new projects that are in the works?
We have enough music right now for an EP, and the discussion has been whether or not we write several more songs and put out a full length, or if we just put out another EP. And we're most likely gonna opt to record sooner than later. So maybe a new EP in the works here, like momentarily.
That's very exciting.
Awesome. I'm excited, man. Be sure to, message us whenever that comes out.
For sure, man.
do.
We will.
Yeah, man, we'll put it out.
Right
Dude, thanks,
on, yo.
thanks again for joining, guys. This was super fucking fun.
It was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
Dude,
y'all.
anytime you guys want to be on, dude,
Hey.
let us know.
We'll start brainstorming more records, and we'll come up with some more hilarious discussions to fucking, because all of this was scripted. We have our teleprompter like, right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna prep the dark spot for y'all's next episode.
Yeah.
We're
We'll
gonna start
discuss
one, dude. We're gonna
Masters
start
of
one
Reality
right over
versus
there.
Liquid Swords.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh, I'm always down to talk swords, so let's do it.
Nice. Well, thanks, buddies. Thank you for listening. Check out Mug Dog. Check out other episodes of our podcast, and let us know what you guys thought about How Did We Get So Dark by Royal Blood. We want to hear what you guys think too.
What did you think about Nico and Willie personally?
Yeah. Give
no.
it,
Oh,
review
God.
Do you
them.
like them? Do you hate them?
Look, I'm
we
down to be
need
a
to
heel.
rate the guest segment.
Right.
You guys were great. You guys were awesome, man.
Right
Thanks
on.
so much,
Appreciate
guys.
y'all, man.
All right, well, we can stop recording in 3, 2, 1. See ya, buddies.
Peace.